Hi, I'm Sherry Frazier with Keller Williams Greater Lexington in Lexington, Kentucky. And I have with me today Gianna Vennari, and she's with Five Star Life and Wealth. And we just wanted to have a little discussion here during this corona virus. I know that a lot of things have changed and people have a lot of questions about their 401k, about investing and their finances for the future, and what's going on. And so I invited Gianna to come and just talk to us about what she does and how things have changed in the tax laws and how they're affecting individuals. And we're also going to talk about how those new laws and investments and finances and things affect a client when they're going through divorce or have been through a divorce. So I'm going to turn this over to Gianna and let her tell us about herself and her company, her business, and what's going on.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. So I'm Gianna Vennari with Five Star Life and Wealth, and I am not a stockbroker. That's the first thing that I always tell all my clients. I'm not a stockbroker. At the time of retirement and planning for retirement, what we need to do is eliminate risk and make sure we can guarantee income for the rest of your life. There are all kinds of things that happen in life, like getting sick or running out of money, are sometimes the biggest fears people have. Do they have enough to make it to the finish line? And that's what I do. We do good planning. We have a plan. We address and adjust the plan every single year for our clients. Now, and I'm not going to say the C word in today's environment, but with the problems we have right now in the world, it is affecting the economy. It is eroding people's 401ks. If you have your money all in risky things, then it can certainly be detrimental for the future. And you work too hard for your money not to be working for you as well. So we like to eliminate risk. We lower fees or eliminate fees if possible, and protect your money for the unknown. And there have been some recent, thank you, Sherry, there have been some recent serious changes in tax law. Those were signed into effect actually on January 1 by President Trump. So this year, right after we had the biggest year in the economy last year, the tax laws changed. So the minute that you looked at your nest egg and it was big, at the end of 2019, he changed the tax laws. So here's what happens when your retirement assets start getting treated differently. You accumulated those mostly to help yourself or your spouse and your family, but there's always, in a good situation, always going to be just a little bit left that you hope to leave to your children, grandchildren, and your heirs. With the tax law changes, those are all getting handled quite differently, and it's not so beneficial if we don't do some proper tax planning. So that is a big component in helping people plan for retirement, is also taking care of their loved ones. Of course, on top of all of that, what happens if the client is divorced, is going through a divorce, has finished a divorce? Your assets, your priorities change, your nest egg has potentially been split, and all of those affect people as well in how they handle their money, their risk tolerance, and their heirs. So we handle that quite differently than just a regular married couple with heirs too. So looking for protection is what I do.
Gianna, who would you typically, who would be a good client for you? Who would typically come to you for advice? Is there a particular age, stage of life?
You know, I would say more often than not, I get people right before they're about to retire, because that's when they're really worried about it and they're planning. But ideally, I would like to see people in their 50s. So I get about 10 years to look at what they have. It's not the end, but look at what they have and do about 10 years of planning with them to strategically place them in a perfect tax bracket for retirement. So it's a common misconception that taxes will be lower. Let's face it, I have not found anybody that doesn't agree with me that taxes in the future are going to be higher than they are today, especially when we have to pay back all this stimulus money.
Yeah, and that's the kicker is I don't think we're
Yeah.
thinking about that is it is going to be paid back one way or the other. So if I were at my age, 58, to come to you, what would be some things that you would need from me to give me a good.
You know, my first appointment actually is always getting people organized.
Hmm.
It's rare that they're have all their ducks in a row, even if they have good files and good records. Getting them organized on paper, getting them organized in their head and in their heart of how they're going to get to enjoy those golden years. And I do have a little story that I like to tell people. That story is what I call my gas tank story. And
Uh-huh.
there was an old couple that was taking a vacation. And right before they left, the wife asked the husband, "Do we have enough gas to get there?" And he says, "Yes, honey, I got 200 miles on the gauge, and the trip is going to only be 190 miles. So we're going to make it." And she says, "Why don't we get some gas?" And he said, "No, we got it." So they drive along and they see a sign that says their destination is 100 more miles. And so she says to him again, "We have enough gas?" And he goes, "Oh, yes, I've got 115 miles to go to empty, and we only have 100 miles to get there." And they drive further, and the sign says destination 75 miles. And she says, "Do we have enough gas?" "Yep, we got 90 miles in the tank." And they finally arrive at the destination. You get the picture. And when they walk in to check into the hotel, the lady at the desk says, "Where'd you come from?" They spoke of where their home was. And she said, "Oh, you must have just enjoyed the most beautiful and one of the most scenic drives in America. How was that for you?" And they looked at each other, and the entire time he was staring at the gas gauge and she was staring at him asking if they had enough gas.
Yeah.
That is what happens in retirement. These are the golden years we're supposed to be enjoying the scenic drive, not staring at the gauge. And
Yeah.
with proper planning, you never look at the gauge again, because every year you have a review with me and say, where are we? Do we need to get more gas in the tank? Do we need to change some allocations?
Mhm.
So I hope that paints a good picture of what we try to do.
Yeah. So it's not just a 1 or 2 time meeting. Once you meet, you get prepared, then we come back and we talk about um, my package or my story, and then you give me advice on my roadmap, and then we have regular fill ups, gas. We check our gas or fuel every year.
Changes, make changes.
Yeah.
Yep. And you
Good.
know what? Just like you would make changes to a will, you can't write your will when you're 30 years old or 40 years old and it be the same when you're 75.
That's true.
You,
Yes.
you look at each year's performance, at the portfolio, you look at how you're spending, you look at things that come up. Do you need to buy a new car? Are you going to sell a house? Are you taking the whole family on a vacation? Or is somebody sick? And you know, life happens. So these are all the realities. You need to have a certain amount of liquidity. So we take care of all that. And annual meetings are where that is
Yeah.
accomplished.
Yeah. And like you said, tax laws do change regularly. So, what we do today does not necessarily mean what we need tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
No more staring at the gas gauge.
I like that analogy. I like that story a lot.
Thank you.
So if like if we work together and you tell me that I need to be in this vehicle or this type of investment or whatever, how do you get paid?
Actually, the client never pays me. And
Mhm.
that's a wonderful story to tell them at a meeting. My commission, I don't work for free. Nobody does.
Mhm.
Actually, if we fit a plan and a product to someone, the company that owns that sells that product will reimburse me. So it never comes out of your pocket. And that's quite different than a stockbroker or financial advisor. I will say that I work as part of a large team. I have CPAs on my team, have lawyers on my team, I have tax planners, I have certified financial planners, advisors. They're all behind the scenes when we come up with your retirement plan. And I prepare a binder, a very large binder and booklet that has tabs of your investments and things that you can always reference. And I see it many times with married couples. Somebody in the married couple has all the files and knows where everything is, and the other one maybe doesn't. And I can speak personally that when my father passed away, my mother didn't know what he was invested in and had to go digging through files. So planning is big.
Yeah, and I think that's a great topic to bring up in that, you know, even if it's not a death of a spouse, but it's a divorce, there that same situation would apply. So that's a good segue right into, let's talk about how it affects a client when they're divorcing or have gotten a divorce.
Absolutely. The planner is still the planner. The organization is still the organization, and the annual meetings are just as important as ever, whether it's one person or two. What I've also found, and it happens in divorce and it happens in death, is that you were used to paying taxes and filing taxes, married filing jointly. When someone passes away, I don't know if you know this, Sherry, but you pay a higher tax rate on the same amount of income when you're filing single head of household. So that applies to divorce. It applies to the death of a spouse. But the tax bracket bumps you up even if your plan has you living off the same amount of dollars. So that's the plan. You got to change the plan as things happen in life.
Right. Yeah. That's very, very good to know. So, if you are working with let's say a divorced woman in her 50s, what would you advise her to do?
I would advise her to protect the assets that she left the marriage with. And I talk about financial assets. Of course, she's going to have a house and a job and things like that, we hope. But the assets that she's awarded, if it's, now rarely, but sometimes it's a partial pension. We look at when she can get access to that pension. I also always run a report for everyone how to maximize their Social Security. So maximizing Social Security is a whole report that is a tab in the binder. So it's different for everybody. There's no cookie cutter approach, but teaching someone, that is not a profession. And hopefully when you talk to professional people, you could be, you know, a rocket scientist, but hopefully you focus on rockets and not on how to maximize Social Security. So that's my job. That's my job where I can help. And I find sometimes people with the most money just didn't know all the best ways and places to put it. So
they were just
be a specialist in your area. Yeah, be a specialist in your area, right? And don't try to be a master of none. Just leave it to the professionals that know certain things.
Well, and that brings me to another subject that I wanted to discuss. I am the founding leader of the Lexington chapter of the National Association of Divorce Professionals. And what we are about is developing a team and training one another in the different aspects of a person's like, you know, their real estate and their financial planning and their tax planning and all those things that changes drastically when they get a divorce. Their life, you know, everything's going to change. They need a different plan. But what we're trying to do is to educate one another on how that affects that client or how it possibly could affect, so we can create a team to provide. And you had alluded to that. You do have a team of professionals. And you know, I as a real estate agent do as well. I'm also a divorce coach with Seasons of Divorce, and I try to help people through the emotional part of it. But I'm not a counselor, and I'm not an attorney. I'm none of those things. I'm not a financial advisor, but I have people that I work with that I can refer that client too for those aspects, because when it comes right down to it, um, your attorney does not have the knowledge and expertise or the desire to become those things for you. They're not going to be your counselor. They don't want to be your financial advisor. They don't want to do help you if you have a piece of real estate. They're not trained for that, and they don't have the time to do those things for you. But if they have a team, that they can provide or they can consult with on your behalf, then it's going to make their job a lot easier, and it's going to save you money because you're not going to the attorney for all those things and all those billable hours, and they're appreciative of the fact that they don't have to do those things. They don't want you to cry on their shoulder. They do not want
That's an expensive
they do
shoulder.
not want to become your sounding board. None of that stuff is going to benefit you. I mean, it really and truly is not. Your attorney is not going to be able to fill those needs for you, nor do they want to. But we can provide information for them. Like, as a real estate agent, I can provide a realistic point of value on the real estate. A lot of people, they think, well, we went to Zillow and Zillow says it's worth this, so that's what we're going to put on our property settlement. Well, the reality is that's probably not even close to what your property value is worth. And there's other extenuating circumstances that Zillow or no other, virtual system has to give you that provides you with that knowledge. I'm not an appraiser, but I can get pretty close to what if I were to market your property, or I represent you as a buyer to buy property, that I would advise you that would be good value and that you would be easily able to get an appraisal. And there's lots of things that come into all that, and I'm not going to go into that today. But having said that, having a team is so beneficial to you as the client, as well as every other professional that you have working for you and with you. And if you, most people, if you have any kind of, you've built any kind of wealth or anything over the course of your marriage, then there's lots of things that you may not have knowledge of. But as a divorce coach, one of the things that I do is to help you get organized on what do you need to have, what do you need to know, and then what do you do with it. And so that would be one of the things that you and I would tag team on, and because you do that as well. And so we would be able to gather that information or help you find it, and then provide it to you, and then you would give them it sounds like a very organized plan. And I like that a lot, because honestly, I think there's very few people that are going through a divorce or that has lost a spouse that have any preparation at all. Very, very few. And maybe if they're lucky enough to have had an attorney and a CPA, that's but the reality is most people that don't have huge wealth don't have those professionals.
Well, and I'll say they might have those professionals, but when did they all sit down in the same room and help put the plan together?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you have no plan, it doesn't matter where you're going, because you'll probably end up there. And I wasn't the one that first coined that phrase.
If you don't plan, you're planning to fail. And so we're going to wrap this up now, so we don't make this too awful lengthy. But
Sure.
if we can kind of tell people how we can do business right now, as far as the virus is concerned, the C word, that what we can do. And one of the things that we can do is what we're doing right now, is we can do virtual meetings. We don't have to be there physically. So we can do, the social distancing, but we can still get across what we need to. And one of the things that I do is I can do virtual tours. I can share my screen with you and show you, what I'm using, the tools I'm using for property valuation. I can send you sellers guides and buyers guides, and there's many, many things that I can share with you virtually. And I think that you probably can do the same thing, right, Gianna?
Absolutely. Documents can be shared simply over virtual meetings. And there's actually a way to electronically sign things over the computer without meeting. I can't wait to hug people again, so I'm over this.
People that are huggers are really having a hard time right now. I can't say that
I'm having a real hard time right now. my cat is being tired of being hugged, but
Yeah.
we're dealing with that as well.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to really feel it when you send virtual hugs, but we can do that if we need to. But Donna, I really appreciate your time, and I'm going to leave this for you to tell people how they can reach you.
Sure. It's Gianna Vennari at 5-Star Life and Wealth. My email is Gianna, Gianna, at 5starlifeandwealth.com. And my office number is 859-317-6848. That's 317-6848. I look forward to it. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Donna. That was great information. And my name is Sherry Frazier. Again, I'm with Keller Williams Greater Lexington, Real Estate by Sherry. My name is spelled Shari. Frazier is Frasure. It's kind of unusual, so I tend to spell it every time. And my email is Sherry, Shari, at realestatebysherry.com. And my phone number is 859-229-5945. I hope this has been beneficial to you and that we've shared some good information with you. And if you do have any questions for me or Gianna, we're easily reached, and you can message us, here, or you can text us, call us, email us. We're on Facebook, so we're really easy to get a hold of, and we will answer you back personally. But I do want to say that if you enjoy this video and you would like to hear more videos like this, please subscribe, like, and share. We are going to be doing other interviews like this. I, for one, am going to be interviewing some local loan officers, so we can talk about what's going on with them. I'm also going to be interviewing other people that are involved in a real estate transaction as well as a divorce process. So there will be attorneys, and there will be loan officers again. There'll be title attorneys, different financial CPAs. So I'm going to try to offer some good information here. So please subscribe to my channel, and like and share these videos. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to being here again. Bye, Donna.
Bye.